Today, I want to talk about one of the pillars of health. First of all, I believe there are basically 3 pillars of health. We all know that nutrition and exercise are important, even though some believe that exercise is mainly there for a strong and flexible body and to lose weight or body fat. That is somewhat correct. But what is vital is that exercise affects actually every function in your body and in a positive way. And even if, and even one of the most important thing, and that's what I have been speaking about so much lately, is the effects that exercise has on your brain, on brain health. And I will dive even more into this. But today, what I want to talk about, because there is nutrition, as I said, and exercise, and then the third one is sleep. But I believe sleep is number one, because if sleep is not optimized, even nutrition and exercise are not helping you to live a healthy and long life. Healthy and long life. A good night's sleep is the most important part of your daily activity, or better, your daily non-activity, so that your body can rejuvenate and heal itself. And that makes sleep the number one pillar of health in my books. And that's why I want to start with that today. So here's the fact. As we get older, we have more challenges in getting a good night's rest. Now, whatever I say is not true for everybody. There are always exceptions. There are people that are getting older and sleep like a baby, like my husband. But I think even for women, because of the hormonal changes when we get older, it's a little bit more of a challenge. And because of the stressful time that we live in, even younger people have issues with restful sleep. And not just the stresses on the outside world, but what's in their hand, their electronics. In the past, you had the parties going on in person, and maybe you lost sleep over that because you were dancing all night. But today, it's so much of an issue with their electronics. And there are some games where they actually play a different role, an altered ego, and they become somebody else, maybe an elf, maybe an elf, or maybe a hero, or even an animal. So they become a superhero. And that can be stimulating, but also can affect a body's personality and their sleep. So since all of this is possible today, we do not really know what the long-term changes in the brain will be, or how it will affect health and behavior on a long, after decades and decades, because this is all relatively new, that what's going on in our electronics and what we can do with virtual reality and all of this. So, but today I want to speak about sleep. How can we improve our sleep? Because it is so important that the brain rejuvenates itself and makes sense of whatever it has taken in during the day, right? Sorts things out, so to speak, and also gets rid of accumulated junk. And sugar is just one part of that accumulated junk that the brain needs to flush out. But anyway, something came to mind, but maybe I mention that a little bit later. There is something else that interferes with our natural biorhythm, and that is artificial light. So if we stay up late into the night, because we have this artificial light, melatonin is not released. With light, and also being on our electronic devices, that really suppresses melatonin. And it prevents us from sleeping when we should sleep, for all the necessary actions that take place in the brain. When we are at rest, the brain is actually very active. But anyway, that means that melatonin is released when it's dark, right? That's the basics. But we want to improve the quality of sleep. And here are some suggestions. You may know some of them, but sometimes we need to hear things over and over again so that we actually not just say, I have heard that before, but make the changes. Okay, so room temperature. So they say, science says, or those who have studied it, say that the ideal room temperature for sleep is between 60 and 70 degrees. Well, I live in the Bahamas and I don't like it too cold. My sleeping temperature is between 73 and 74. And I feel this cool enough. That's for me. But 60 to 70 is supposed to be the perfect sleeping temperature. Why? Because your body temperature needs to drop in order for you to be able to sleep. Okay. So the other thing that interrupts sleep is noise. So noise and heat and light, right? We just talked about the light and then the heat, or it should be cold. So noise and heat and light will definitely interfere with your sleep. Okay, then something else. When it comes to food, we made it a habit of having our biggest meal in the evening. Really, it's not the best idea because it engages our digestive system to take many hours to digest the food. And especially as we get older and our digestive juices are a little bit lower, that they don't have that strength. You know, when we are young, we can be a garbage can almost. We can eat anything. We don't get bloated. We don't have all of these sensitivities in our digestion. There are always exceptions, of course. But as a rule of thumb, stay away from eating anything at least 3 hours before sleeping. Okay, if you cannot do 3 hours, do at least 2 hours. Especially if your evening meal contains meat, because that takes so much longer to digest. And when you mix that meat with carbohydrates, the animal protein takes longer to digest. And the very common combination of animal protein and carbs, you know, like meat and potatoes or fish and rice, it's a little bit lighter. And still, there are two different digestive juices that are necessary to actually break down those different food categories. So it would be better to have your last meal mostly carbohydrates and some fat. Well, when I say mostly, I mean really only carbohydrates and fat. So don't mix animal protein into it. Yeah. And maybe if you like animal protein, move it into the midday. What about that? Okay, so something else, another culprit that makes us believe would help us sleep is having a glass of wine or some alcohol. And I know how it feels. I love to have a glass of wine with my dinner. It just tastes nice and it relaxes me. And therefore, I tend to believe that a glass of wine helps me even fall asleep. And actually it does. But here is the problem. It helps you fall asleep, but it is not conducive to keep you asleep. So, and then upon, you know, maybe you wake up a couple of times in the night or you toss and turn, you just don't get into that deep sleep, you know, that you should get at least 3 or 4 hours in the night, really deep sleep. Alcohol disrupts that, which then, of course, lessens the quality of your sleep. That makes sense, right? Another thing that alcohol does, maybe not for everybody, but I found for many of my clients and for myself as well, alcohol can increase your heart rate, which should actually drop when you sleep. You'll have a super light or low quality sleep when your heart rate is up, like close to the heart rate that you have during your waking time, you know, during the day. And of course that fluctuates a lot. During the day, your heart rate fluctuates. When you rest and sit down, it may be in the 60s or whatever. And when you exercise, it could go high, 120, 130, even 140 or 50. But during the night, that shouldn't happen, those fluctuations. It should be a much lower heart rate. So this means you do not wake up refreshed but groggy in the morning, even with moderate alcohol consumption. I actually spoke about what alcohol does to your brain and your body in my last episode. So if you're interested in that, look it up, because it's in the archives, so you can access it and watch it. So there are always variations again, but the ideal sleeping heart rate is usually between 50 and 60 beats per minute. If it is 70 and up, you will probably not sleep well. You feel as if you have worked throughout the night when you wake up in the morning. But what I share here again is not set in stone. There are always exceptions. Still, there are few, like my daughter, whose heart rate is higher than normal, while my heart rate is a bit under the norm, under, what is normal. But then also I'm so much older. And also when people work out a lot or work out hard, their cardiovascular output is higher, and also maybe their heart rate viability is higher. So their heart rate can go up, but it can also come down very, very quickly, which is actually a sign of health. So our heart rates tend to get a little bit slower as we age. Compare your heart rate with that of a baby or even an older child, and you will find that your heart rate is slower. Well, at least if you are over 50 or 60 or in 70, or 80s, it doesn't go slower as you age. But how high the heart rate of a baby is, and even children, and how compared to the mature adult. And here are a few other things you can do. When you are in bed and still find that your mind is going and can't get to that delicious drowsiness that is the precursor to sleep, there are some sleep aids like brainwave inductions. I have such an application on my iPhone that creates certain frequencies. And if you don't have that, you can create your own frequency that activate your parasympathetic nervous system, which calms everything down. Melatonin, parasympathetic nervous system, they work together, while cortisol and your sympathetic nervous system, they act for you during the day. But anyway, what you can do if you don't have that induction of frequencies that I need my earphones to really have that perfect left side of the brain or left or right ear. When this comes into your brain, there is a certain, not only the wave, but how it hits your left or your right side of the brain. So if you don't have that, you can induce it yourself with breathing, slow breathing. I will talk about breathing another time, but you know that when you slow down your breathing and the exhalation is longer than your inhalation, you activate your parasympathetic nervous system and you calm down, and also lower your heart rate that way. So the frequency for deep sleep is delta, which has a wave frequency of 1 to 4 hertz. So it's slow. It's a very long, slow wave. A relaxing and peaceful frequency is 432 hertz and would be ideal for maybe an hour before sleep. We get into that peaceful frequency when we participate in yoga or gentle stretching, or even, the slow breathing will get you there. and of course, meditation. So let me just tell you, even though your body is at rest during the night when you sleep, your brain, that part of your body, your brain, is very active. It's, what is it? It's not with thinking, but with cleaning up, housekeeping, so to speak, cleaning up accumulated toxins that have, lodged themselves into your brain. A lot of that comes from sugar. That is why sleep deprivation is one of the known dangers of developing dementia and Alzheimer's disease, among others. They say Alzheimer's disease or dementia, they call it now number 3 diabetic. There is number one diabetics that you're almost born with. It's something that you did not do to yourself. It's in your DNA. And then there is the number 2 diabetic, which usually comes from poor eating habits, mostly, not totally and always. And they say number 3 diabetic is the Alzheimer's or dementia. We talk about that another time as well. But I was just sharing with you some of the tools that you can get to a more peaceful and restful sleep. Another great tool is, and that is also easy to use, is, and it is sleep inducing for me, it's tapping with your hands on your body. You can do this, on your body like this, or you can do this on your legs, on your thighs. It doesn't really matter where you do it, but it is this gentle tapping that, and I do it not simultaneously at the same, but they do it 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, like this here. And it's almost a hypnotic signal that calms everything down as well. I do it every night to my body. And it induces sleep because it slows down my brain activity and activates my parasympathetic nervous system that needs to replace the sympathetic, the active nervous system. Where you sleep makes a big difference too. What is the quality of your bed? What is the quality of your pillow? What's the quality of your mattress? The newest research, which I found really interesting, says that the hard mattresses that we always believed are the best ones sleep on something that is hard. No, it's that idea is out. Scientifically researched now that softer mattresses are better for the body. And it is probably because our bodies have changed. Maybe we are already sitting too much in hard chairs, or I don't know why this is, but this is what I read and I found it interesting. I'm not too sure about the scientific findings, but again, I read it in reputable reports. And actually, I prefer softer, not too soft, but a softer mattress. For my body, it feels better. Of course, there is no rule. It's a very individual choice. You must try it out and see what works best for you. So it's by personal trial and error. So I also, what I did for myself that made my sleep more restful is I raised my mattress at the head and foot end with 2 yoga blocks under the mattress. I still have those yoga blocks when I used to teach yoga. And it just raises the head side and also the foot side, just about that much. I would say, how much is that? Half a foot, little 3/4 of a foot. But I'm still hoping to buy an electric bed at some times where I can just regulate the lift on both ends. I'm also curious about the mattresses that have some heat regulation, if that really works. You know, wouldn't it be great to have a pillow or a mattress that actually cools you a little bit down? I mean, as I said, I live in the Bahamas, so for me, it's cooling down is more important than if you live somewhere in the far north and it's cold all the time. You may want maybe to have a little more heat in your mattress. All very individual. But when you realize that we spend around half of our lives in bed, what could be worth more to spend money on so that you have maximum comfort and the best sleeping environment? I still have not convinced my husband to pay, you know, like over $10,000 for a new bed, but I'm working on it. Okay, then what about your sleeping position? What is your sleeping position? And even though we usually move unconsciously in our sleep, the position you take to fall asleep kind of matters. I used to sleep on my side. I used to sleep on my right side, sometimes on my left side. But I found that falling asleep is easier for me when I'm on my back, but not just on my back, but I do certain things. What I do is I have a little discomfort and pain in my left hip, and I alleviate this with this kind of position. I lie on my back and I have a firm, smaller pillow under that hip. And then of course I put one under the other hip because, you know, you don't want to be lopsided. And it really, really helps. So I don't have pain in my joint when I wake up or are woken up because pain comes from that side. So I fall asleep on my back, right? With my upper thighs open and a pillow under my left hip. And then I gently tap the inside of my thighs for about 2 minutes or so while I count back from 100 to 0. I do this while I also listen to the delta brainwaves, the induction that I set a timer for 20 minutes. Baby, I'm in La La Land in about 20 minutes, latest. So we already spoke about the stimulant alcohol and how it may help you fall asleep, but does not help you stay asleep. Another stimulant you must be aware of when it comes to your sleep, of course, is caffeine. And yes, caffeine is not only part of coffee, but also part of teas, energy drinks, sport drinks. Of course, you would not have an energy drink in the evening and may not even drink coffee in the evening. Even though I know some people who drink coffee before they go to sleep. I never understood how they can sleep with that, but you know, some do without seeing any issues. And some can't have any coffee because it gives them the jitters. Like I have a family member who once drank coffee and she couldn't sleep for 2 days. Had the jitters for 2 days. I'm not that sensitive, but I can only have 1 cup in the morning and not with a lot of caffeine. I have decaffeinated coffee, and I'm aware that there is just a little bit of caffeine in there. So that's just enough. If I have that decaffeinated coffee in the afternoon, I will not sleep well. My heart rate will be up and I will not sleep. Okay, and you know, in the US at least, you have these pots of coffee that are on these heating plates all day long, and then they may be replenishing it, but then that pot that is actually being kept hot develops even more caffeine. And the longer it takes for the hot water, if it's a drip, the longer the hot water is in contact with the coffee grind, the more caffeine will be in the liquid, in the coffee that you drink. That's why the espresso is actually not that doesn't have that high of a caffeine content because it goes through there so quickly, you know. So when I have no coffee, I must report, I sleep just better. So I know that my sleep is affected when I have coffee, even in the early afternoon. Maybe most become so conditioned that their tolerance for caffeine becomes higher and higher. We know this, you know, our tolerance always goes up for anything that we use for a very long time. We know it from medication, you know, for painkillers. If you just needed one capsule after maybe a year or whatever frame it is, to get the same effect, you need more. And so it's the same with any substance. And caffeine is a stimulant. It's a substance that is supposed to be good for you, but not for everybody, right? Yeah. So having said this, the issue with coffee is a personal choice, right? And just like your mattress, you must find out for yourself if you can continue or need to stop drinking coffee altogether. If you drink herbal teas, some are stimulating even without caffeine. Some teas are stimulating because of the natural ingredients of the flower. There may be a natural stimulant in there. Or if you use seeds or leaves from which the tea is made of. So here is another interesting way to support your circadian clock, which is your own biorhythm that nature has built into the biology of every mammal. It induces, and it includes us humans as well, and it induces wakefulness and sleep. And I learned that from Dr. Andrew Huberman, a neuroscientist and professor of neurobiology and psychiatry and behavioral sciences at the Stanford University School of Medicine. So here is what he says we should do every day as possible. Okay, and since I have only 2 minutes left, I will have to end with that, even though there is so much more I want to share with you, but I will share it in the next episode, okay? But here is something you can do. Go outside and watch the sunrise. Or go outside and gaze into the rising sun just for a few minutes. If it is later, of course, never look directly into the sun unless it's just above the horizon and maybe in the first 15, 20 minutes, maybe 30 minutes. But not, after it has already that strong light because it can damage your eyes. But you can gaze at it with closed eyes or semi-closed eyelids because the photons, when you're outside, are reaching you and reaching your face and even reaching your eyes through your lids, okay? So this will not only support your energy level during the day, but also sets the time for melatonin to be released about 14 to 16 hours later. So you have a good night's sleep. So that helps as well. Okay, so I have to stop here, but there is so much more that I want to share with you also about what kind of supplements are really good for that and other things that I learned. Bye-bye for now.